Welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you can catch up on all of your favorite shows at any time. 2 contestants were eliminated in a shocking and unexpected twist. On the latest episode of Survivor, the remaining contestants were divided into very small voting groups and divided into the tribal councils, making it difficult to keep secrets and effectively targeting the game's administrators. One contestant was also given the power broker advantage, which allowed them to vote at both tribal councils amid all the drama and twists. What transpired on May 6th on Survivor 50? On May 6th, Ozzy Lust and Emily Flippin were eliminated from Survivor 50. Flippin's position in the game weakened after Christian Habitsky's blind side. She found herself at the bottom with Rick Devens, who, after the tribe split, found a new idol. She did her best to persuade others that Rick could turn against her in order to avoid elimination, anticipating that they would switch sides and vote against him. She became an easy target for elimination when her strategy failed in the end. Due to his challenge strength and possession of a public idol, Lust attracted the attention of the other contestants. On multiple occasions, however, he was successful. In this case because he formed the strongest alliance with Siri Fields, a former rival. He was able to avoid being eliminated multiple times thanks to this until the roles were reversed, and they split. Because he thought Aubrey Bracco was going to lose, he trusted her with his game. However, the information was used against him instead, resulting in him being tossed out of the game. Tiffany was initially declared the winner, but she was disqualified for breaking a rule. Jonathan, who came in second, was chosen as the winner and given immunity. He was able to talk to everyone, comprehend their plans, and influence votes on both sides thanks to the power broker advantage. The remaining contestants are as follows: Aubrey Bracco, Siri Fields, Joseph Joe Hunter, Jonathan Young, Rick Devens, Rizzo Velovic, Tiffany Irvin. ComingSoon.net, movie trailers, TV and streaming news, and more appeared first with the article Survivor 50 again eliminates the contestants. In brutal new episode. Another week, another shocking night on Survivor 50. After the emotional shock of the previous week, fans thought the game might slow down. However, in one of the most intense episodes yet, the landmark season delivered yet another brutal twist that sent to more players packing. With the final 7 already feeling fragile, the pressure reached a boiling point as alliances cracked. Idols became useless and trust disappeared entirely. The remaining castaways were still dealing with the aftermath of the previous vote when the episode premiered the morning after Tribal Council. It was colder and quieter than usual at camp. Players who thought they were safe in majority alliances suddenly realized that no one was truly safe. In the confessional, one contestant acknowledged that the game had evolved into pure survival mode, and another compared the environment to walking through a minefield blindfolded. That sense of paranoia quickly spread across the beach as everyone understood that a double elimination meant even one mistake could end their journey. The stakes were immediately raised by the night's first challenge. Host Jeff Probst announced that the players would be divided into the temporary groups, with separate immunity battles and separate tribal councils. Everyone in the tribe groaned, because they were aware that this format leaves very little room for social recovery. One of the most dramatic competitions of the season was the immunity challenge itself. Contestants maneuvered increasingly challenging obstacles. While maintaining their balance on constrained platforms, several players dropped quickly, but a few challenge beasts held on through exhaustion. In the end, the castaways got immunity necklaces, which guaranteed them spots in the final 5 and changed the strategic landscape right away. Back at camp, panic spread among the vulnerable players. Previously close friends suddenly started calling each other names for the first time all season. A player who had control of several votes was left alone in the hope of splitting votes and causing chaos at Tribal Council. Another contestant attempted to form a last-minute counter-alliance. What made the episode especially brutal was how personal many of the conversations became. Now, players were questioning loyalty, honesty, and friendships formed over several weeks in the game, not just strategy. One emotional confrontation near the water well nearly exploded into a full argument after accusations of betrayal surfaced. The first tribal council delivered exactly the kind of tension fans expect from modern Survivor. No one seemed to know for sure where the votes were going. Nervous appeared even among the players casting ballots. Moments prior to the final vote, whispering broke out, causing confusion throughout the group. When the votes were read, the results stunned nearly everyone. They were left speechless as their torch was snuffed when a decisive vote completely blindsided a significant strategic threat. Their exit reaction immediately became one of the most talked about moments of the season. Instead of anger, The eliminated contestant laughed in disbelief and congratulated the others for pulling off such a massive move. However, the night was only half over. The second group went back to camp knowing that there would be another elimination, and the tension somehow got even worse. Unlike the first tribal council, this vote felt deeply emotional from the start. It was evident that a number of players were struggling with the idea of betraying people with whom they had collaborated since the merge. One contestant attempted a risky move by revealing confidential alliance information in hopes of flipping the vote. The strategy not only caused brief panic, but it also instantly destroyed trust. Another player quietly recognized the opportunity and began steering votes toward a target nobody expected earlier in the episode. The ambiguity was brilliantly emphasized by the editing throughout the hour. Every conversation seemed important. There was a hint of a possible blind side in every confessional. By the time the second tribal council arrived, fans online were already debating dozens of possible outcomes. Jeff Props made the contestants think hard about loyalty and fear at tribal. Several players openly acknowledged that completing the game was more important than relationships. One castaway even confessed they would betray their closest ally, if necessary, to survive one more vote. That honesty set the tone for a devastating elimination. When the final votes appeared, another strong competitor was sent home in heartbreaking fashion. This defeat, in contrast to the previous blind side, felt personal and emotional. Tears filled several players' eyes as the eliminated contestant hugged their tribe mates goodbye. Even some of the people who voted against them appeared shaken by the decision. With 2 more torches extinguished, the game now heads into its most unpredictable stage yet. The remaining players are exhausted physically and mentally, but nobody can afford to slow down. The strategic lines have completely vanished, but almost every contestant still has a plausible way to win. Whether any genuine alliances remain intact will be one of the most important storylines moving forward. Throughout the episode, viewers witness supposedly loyal groups repeatedly turning against one another. That constant shifting has made Survivor 50 feel especially chaotic compared to recent seasons. Fans are also beginning to debate who deserves the title of frontrunner. Some viewers think that the most strategic player is quietly in charge of the game behind the scenes, while others think that the biggest threat to the jury has managed to avoid attention at the right moment. Social media reactions exploded immediately after the episode aired, with many praising the season's relentless pacing and unpredictable gameplay. Although the double elimination twist was cruel, it unquestionably resulted in one of the season's best episodes. Every choice had significant repercussions, and nearly every contestant had to demonstrate their true position. Now, survival in a game built on deception depends on adapting faster than everyone else. There is officially no room for error as the final 5 draws closer. One bad conversation, one failed immunity challenge, or one misplaced vote could destroy months of gameplay instantly. If this episode proved anything, it's that Survivor 50 is determined to keep shocking viewers until the very end. The game on Survivor 50 has officially entered survival mode. The most recent episode dealt another crushing blow to the Castaways by eliminating not one, but 2 contestants in a brutal night filled with paranoia, betrayal, and emotional exits. With the finale rapidly approaching, and only a few players still fighting for the $1 million prize, the remaining players return to camp, already emotionally exhausted from the previous tribal council after weeks of blind sides and shifting alliances. No one felt safe any longer. Even longtime allies were beginning to wonder if loyalty still mattered this late in the game, and every conversation had a hidden meaning. From the very beginning of the episode, there was a tense atmosphere around camp. Several contestants admitted that they barely slept the entire night because they were concerned about whether their identities were being concealed. One player admitted that they no longer fully trusted anyone, while another compared the tribe to a group of sharks circling each other. When host Jeff Probst arrived with the dreaded news that another double elimination was coming, this anxiety only got worse. The game's tone was immediately altered by the announcement. The contestants were aware that there would be virtually no margin for error. They could be sent home within hours of a bad conversation or a strategy move made at the wrong time. Every vote now had significant repercussions, in contrast to earlier in the season, when players were able to correct their errors. The immunity challenge became one of the toughest endurance competitions of the season. While holding increasingly unstable structures in place, players balanced on slender footholds. The group quickly showed signs of exhaustion as the tropical heat got worse. Unable to maintain their concentration under the stress, several castaways gave up early. However, a few rivals refused to give up. One contestant, who had struggled physically for much of the season, surprised everyone with an incredible performance that earned loud reactions from the tribe. By securing safety at precisely the right time, another player maintained their reputation as a challenger when the tribe obtained immunity. It split into two distinct groups, those who were able to breathe briefly, and those who were made immediately vulnerable targets. Back at camp, there was a flurry of strategy discussions. Alliances that appeared to be solid soon began to fall apart. One player pushed aggressively for a major blindside, arguing that this was the perfect opportunity to remove a huge jury threat before it was too late. In the meantime, another contestant was caught sharing information with multiple sides and desperately tried to regain trust. The episode brought to light just how mentally taxing the game had become. The conversations were more like tense negotiations between people running out of options than friendly discussions of strategy. Since they had lied to people they really liked, several players openly admitted that they were emotionally exhausted. Near the shelter, two allies got into a fight over camp rumors, which resulted in one of the night's most dramatic scenes as accusations of betrayal surfaced. What began as a calm conversation quickly turned emotional. Realizing that the debate could completely alter the outcome of the vote, other players quietly listened in the vicinity. Chaos erupted right away following the night's first tribal council. The tension was obvious as soon as the group sat down. The Castaways were questioned by Erupts regarding trust, loyalty, and whether or not anyone truly felt safe. Most players gave vague answers, but their nervous body language told a different story. As voting began, whispers suddenly broke out between several contestants. The scrambling caused both the players and home viewers to become confused. Nobody appeared fully confident about where the votes were landing. The shock came next, when the votes were revealed. A powerful strategic player was blindsided in a near-unanimous vote, as the eliminated contestant realized that their closest allies had turned against them. Gasps filled the tribal council area. The player stood to have their torch snuffed after sitting in stunned silence for a while. The contestant left with grace, praising the remaining players for making a big move at the right time. Despite the betrayal, however, their departure altered the game's power balance immediately. As another elimination loomed, there was almost no time to emotionally recover at camp. The remaining players returned knowing the second vote could become even more unpredictable. The game's focus shifted away from the previous target and toward contestants who had managed to go unnoticed for weeks. Some players argued that before the jury phase became impossible to control, it was finally time to eliminate a social threat. Instead, others pressed for loyalty and stability. In an attempt to sway the vote in favor of a different candidate, one contestant engaged in a risky tactic by disclosing private alliance conversations. While the move created temporary panic, it also destroyed trust with multiple players at once. The person who was trying to control the vote suddenly found that they were becoming a potential target instead. For a number of castaways, the emotional stress became too much. While discussing how difficult it had become to separate personal relationships from gameplay, one player broke down in tears. Another admitted that they were afraid of betraying a genuine friend outside of the game. The second tribal council felt completely different from the first. The tone was one of sadness and resignation, rather than shock and confusion. Players were aware that a person's journey was coming to an end, no matter how difficult the decision was. Once more, Erupts urged the tribe to discuss the game's emotional toll. The contestants candidly discussed feelings of guilt, trust, and the dread of making the wrong decision at the worst possible time. Another fan-favorite contestant saw their game end when the votes were finally read. Unlike the earlier blindside, this elimination felt heartbreaking. Tears immediately filled several players' eyes as the eliminated castaway hugged everyone goodbye. The decision was difficult to make emotionally, even for contestants who voted against them. In a moving final message, the departing player urged the remaining players to play hard and take advantage of the opportunity while they could. The remaining contestants were clearly shaken by their departure, which marked the end of one of the strongest social games of the season. Now, with only a few players left, Survivor 50 feels more unpredictable than ever. No alliance appears completely stable. It appears that no player is entirely secure. The constant blindsides and double eliminations have transformed the season into a fast-moving battle where survival depends on adapting every single day. Fans online immediately praised the episode for its relentless pacing and emotional intensity. Many viewers called it one of the strongest installments of the season. especially because both eliminations felt meaningful in completely different ways, one shocking, the other devastating. As the march toward the finale continues, the biggest question is no longer who has control of the game. The real question is whether anyone is able to maintain power for long enough to see the end of things.